Alright, this is Mr. Krolichek. I am talking about descriptive writing this time around. I'm going to do this by going through three topics: a person, a place, an object. Doesn't necessarily have to be confined to those categories, but it gives us a good gamut to work with. This phase, I'm focusing on questions we can ask ourselves after we've picked a topic. It doesn't really matter what you choose. When you really stop and think about it and ask yourself the right questions, you can get a lot of pages of content. So as you're seeing here, I'm picking for a person, my wife Brittany. I'm picking for an object, a painting in my office at home. And the place, I'm doing a street corner outside of Walmart in California. Interesting reasons for that one, and I'll get to that when we go to it. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm starting to type up questions I can ask, or I'm going to type some answers to questions as well as I go about this. First, with descriptive writing, think sensory details, the five senses. You can just draw a lot from that. My wife, what does she look like? What's her eye color? Hair color? What's her face structure? Lots going on there that you could possibly do. Slender. What does she smell like? A lot of people have a very distinct smell. A lot of homes have a very distinct smell. People just have a sort of presence, and that has a very strong sense on memory, which is fun to work with. It could be based off their shampoo too, or perfume, whatever it might be. What does her voice sound like? Beautiful, of course, it's my wife, but yeah, voice. And the voice changes in situations too, which is kind of fun to play with also. Like when you're nervous, sometimes you get a higher pitch, and if you can describe that in the paper, that's really cool. But it doesn't just have to be sensory. Think emotions too. How does she make someone feel? It could be anyone. It could be in a large group setting, a small group setting, with strangers. Because as you know, we all have different impressions, or we leave a different impact on people when we're in a new group of people. We talk differently when we're with an intimate group of friends. You have the advantage probably of picking someone you know well as your subject. So you can just imagine different situations. What's the difference in how they act, how they carry themselves? Are they more slumped over when they're nervous? Do they stand really strong and confident when they're with people? Lots to think about there, lots of questions you can ask yourself. From now I'm going to talk about painting, the painting in my office. There's a lot going on with this painting too. It's kind of a modern work. It's basically a bunch of silver plates against a black background. The silver kind of fades into the dark. So there's different shades of gray and black on it. This one is a little bit abstract, so I can be a bit artsy with it. And because it's so not concrete in its form, it's so uncertain to what it actually is, it gives you so much potential for what you can do with it. For example, you can think of how other people would view it. How would other people view this painting? Would they see it and see something totally different from you? What would they see? What's just a general impression of this painting? Does it calm? Does it leave a calming effect on the room? Does it make it look elegant, modern? There's a lot of metaphorical ways you could go about it. If it doesn't have a concrete form, what does it look like? Like, for example, I'm saying here, silverware strewn across a dark table, or stars against the night sky. There are some rocky parts too that have a unique texture, so it's on one point manufactured, very artificial, and another part very natural. So there's a lot of cool dimensions going on, a lot of cool ways to describe it. So just think, if you're going to pick something like this, what do other people see when they see it? What do you see? What are the different things you see when you stop and think about it? Again, a little bit more abstract reasoning, so it can be a little tricky, but props to anyone who chooses a topic like that, because it's the most fun way to think about with descriptive writing, because you get really into the metaphor of things. Alright, now I'm talking about a street corner outside of Walmart. What I have going on there is there's a lot of potential going on in some place that's first strikes you as so ordinary, so everyday. Just imagine how many people pass through a street corner in California outside of Walmart? There's so many different personalities, so much of it varied by the time of year, what kind of clothes they're wearing, what specifically part of town are they in. This part of Walmart is in a relatively poor part of California, so there are certain fears about being there. There's certain dangers, and at night it can be sketchy or frightening to be there. But during the day, it's just as busy as any other kind of Walmart. Or perhaps on a slow Sunday afternoon, it's just a few passerbys, it's lazy and even peaceful. There's a lot to be said about a place from the people who go through it. I draw a lot specifically from this site when I think of a story I was told about it, and that's why it's so meaningful to me. A friend of mine who lived in California, he was at this street corner, and it was at this street corner where his father was murdered in a drive-by shooting. So you can just imagine the sensation someone would feel. To most people, it's just an everyday sight, a street corner, not much to be said. But to him, it was a life changer, and it made him so angry. Just think of all the emotions that evokes. But then another day, later in his life, he saw a man propose to a woman at that same street corner. Just think how surreal that is, how complex of emotions that you would have, seeing someone's happiest memory in the same place you have one of your saddest. So as you can see, there's a lot of different ways of going about this. It really helps direct your thoughts to question it, especially thinking in that abstract way, thinking of how emotions impact, how time impacts things, even think light, time of day. How does it affect how you look at something, how you perceive something, and how others perceive something? We'll gather these more into writing later, but thanks for listening. Hope it helps.